So we were discussing about which market structure now? We started the discussion on the last market structure. What is the name? Oligopoly. Right. So what are the main features of oligopoly? What are the main features of oligopoly? There are few firms, and how about the product? Differentiated or maybe the same product, but highly, then the majority of the products are differentiated, but there could be some similar products as well. Differentiated. What else? The features. No idea. But yes. How about the entry and exit to the market? Is it easy? There are barriers for entry and exit. And what else you can remember? Features of oligopoly. How about the competition among themselves? Among the few firms? Do they compete or they don't compete? Cannot remember? Take 5 minutes and refer your notes, and then again let's recap the memory on oligopoly, then we will proceed to the other forms of oligopoly. Okay? Take 5 minutes and read it. Features ටිකයි මොනවද ඉගෙන ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. Okay. Okay, now tell me again. Tell me the examples for oligopoly. What are the examples for oligopoly? Balloon or yes. What are the examples? I'm just asking the same things that we have discussed last week. We're supposed to answer me now. Right? So this would be the last lecture series. Right? Today. So after discussing everything today, next week we are going to have the group presentations. Then that's the end. So you cannot remember anything now. So tell me examples for oligopoly. Huh? Okay. Automobiles, television channels, what else? Network providers, commercial banks, right? Examples for duopoly, CTP and private buses. So bus transportation in Sri Lanka. What else?
Yes.
Yes, yes, love and litro. Yes. Right. Those are the examples for oligopoly. So oligopoly is a market where there are only few firms and they can either provide a differentiated product or same product. And also they can either control the competition among themselves or they can compete with each other, right? So if there is a formal or informal agreement between or among the few firms in this market, we say what type of oligopoly? If there is a formal agreement, if there is a formal or informal agreement, what type of oligopoly? Collusive oligopoly, right? If there is no such agreement to limit the competition, we say that is non-collusive oligopoly. So what are the examples for collusive oligopoly? Or what are the examples for non-collusive oligopoly? So we have collusive oligopoly and non-collusive oligopoly. In collusive oligopoly, again, that means they have some formal or informal agreement to limit the competition among themselves. For example, cartels or price leadership model are examples under collusive oligopoly. But if we take non-collusive, examples are the first thing we discussed last week, king demand curve model, and the other one is who not one. Who not one. Right? So oligopoly, there are two types, collusive oligopoly and non-collusive oligopoly. So in collusive oligopoly, again, there are two types or examples, price leadership model and the counter. Non-collusive oligopoly, two example, king demand curve model and the who not model. Okay. So tell me what is king demand curve model? We explained that last week. King demand curve model. King demand curve. In the demand curve, there is a king. So we have both elastic and inelastic part in the demand curve, right? So why that happens? What is the key point in the king demand curve? If one firm increases the price, how about the reaction of other firms? They follow it or do not follow? Price increase, follow or do not follow? Tell me. Do not follow. If they reduce the price, if one firm reduce the price, all other firms follow the price reduction. So the price hike, they do not follow. Price reduction, all of the firms follow, right? Therefore, we have break in the demand curve. That's why we say it's a king demand curve, right? So there is no formal or informal agreement between the firms. They compete with each other. So when there is a price change, if it's high, they do not follow. If it's a cut, they follow. Likewise, every firm faces king demand curve. Therefore, they are there is a discontinuity in the marginal revenue curve as well. So we say this king demand curve model explains the concept of price rigidity. Understood? That's what we discussed under oligopoly, the first model, king demand curve model. So today we are going to discuss all three other models. First, we will start the discussion with price leadership, which is the first form of Colosseum model. Price leadership and hard. So we will talk about what are the forms of price leadership and price leadership by a dominant firm, graphical illustration of price leadership model, then cardinal. Reasons to form cardinal, reasons for cardinals to fail, and make cardinals. Okay. So price leadership, that means in this particular market, there are few firms. One firm is a leader, formally or informally. All other firms accept that firm A is the leader of this market. Okay. So there is an implicit collusion to reduce vigorous price competition is called price leadership. Why they are doing that? If there is no such agreement to limit the competition, let's suppose now all of them are competing with each other, right? Let's suppose a king demand curve model, all are reducing price, then all others also reduce in price. If one firm reduce the price, others also reduce the price. Likewise, there price-wise there is a competition, right? If one firm increase the price, all others do not increase the price. So the firm who has increased the price face losses, right? So there is a competition in that model. To avoid that competition, they are coming to an agreement. Okay, we will like implicitly set a leader in this market. If there are 5 firms, they select one firm as the leader. So whatever the price that firm is decided, all other firms also going to follow the same price. Understood? So there is a leader, there are other firms in the market. So all others voluntarily follow the price set by the leader. Okay. So that is the price leadership model. So the main purpose of this model is to limit the price competition. So price-wise, they are not competing with each other. If they are competing with each other by price, all of are likely to make losses, right? Price-wise compete කරන්න අමාරුයි මේ market එකේ. ඒකට losses වැඩි. මොකද price අඩු කර අනිත් අයත් follow කරනවා. So it's like kind of difficult for them to make profit by changing the price. Instead, what they do, they all of them agree to compete with each other through. All of them agree to limit the competition by selecting a fixed price, which is set by the leader. Okay. So in this model, one firm set the price and others in the industry follow. The main advantage of following a set price by the follower is to avoid the uncertainty about the competitor's reaction. So price leadership is more common than cardinals. Among the 2 examples of Colosseum oligopoly, price leadership is more common. While the main advantage of this model is if you have a price leader, and if the price is set by the leader, all others are agreed to follow that set price. So there is no uncertainty in price, right? Unlike the king demand curve. In the king demand curve, always you have to check the rival's price. And if price likewise, you have to always be cautious and accordingly change your price. Understood? Here now there is no such uncertainty. The price is fixed. All are agreed to take that price. So the uncertainty in the price is avoided. So you do not have to worry about your competitors' prices. All are agreed to set one fixed price. Okay? Right. So price leadership is more common than cardinals. Now there are 3 forms of price leadership. Now in this industry, they have to select one firm as the leader. No? So they have to decide which firm is the leader. One way to decide is the price leadership by large or dominant firm. That means they are checking the market size. Which firm has the largest market share? Let's suppose this network providers. Who has the largest market share? Any idea? කාටද තියෙන වැඩිපුර dialogue the mobitel the touch the airtel SLTS mobitel. Okay, so it's your homework to check that. Okay, so let's suppose that is mobitel එකට තමයි තියෙන්නේ කියලා හිතමු largest market share. Then all others agree, okay, then the price leader, our leader of our market is mobitel. Whatever the price set my mobitel, they will follow. Understood? So the price leadership by a large or dominant firm. Then price leadership by a low cost firm. Price leadership by low cost firm. Now they are not looking at the market, the share, but the lowest cost. Now, among all the firms who are making the product with the lowest cost, average cost එක අඩු කාටද කියලා බලන්න. Thereby they set the firm as the leader. Understood? Then the barometric price leadership, the third type, that means barometric leader means that is the firm who is more like kind of concerned about the market volatility. So this barometric leader, we as all other firms assume this particular leader is, or this particular firm is well aware about the market conditions. So එයාගේ market assessment, market volatilities වෙන්න පුළුවන්, demand එකේ changes වෙන්න පුළුවන්, input cost එකේ changes වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Likewise, anything different happens in the market, this particular firm can predict it in advance correctly, more accurately compared to the other firms. If that's the case, all other firms believe, okay, in case of a market volatility, demand change or input cost change, this firm is better to forecast it correctly, and thereby they will adjust their price correctly. So we will follow that market. Understood? Right. Now take your phones, go to anywhere, internet or ChatGPT or any source. Find examples for these three types. Real world examples are in a machine. But you have to prove it. ChatGPT කිව්ව පමණින් ගන්න බෑ. Take 5 minutes and let me know examples under each of the price leadership model. You can refer Sri Lanka, you can refer the world. Will you define the examples? Okay, tell me the examples for price leadership by large or dominant firm in Sri Lanka. IOC. IOC is the dominant one. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, CPC. CPC, they can CPC. So Petroleum Corporation. That is also a duopoly, right? So in Sri Lanka, we have IOC and CPC.
And China petroleum. That one China
Ceylon Petroleum.
One
China company is also there. Then that cannot be duopoly, but few firms. It comes to the oligopoly, but the largest market share is belong to Petrol or Ceylon Petrol, right? So in that case, we can say that is the large or dominant firm. So whatever the price set by Sipetco would be followed by the other firms. Okay. And also it could be a barometric price leader as well. So compared with the other providers, maybe the Ceylon Petroleum prices would correctly include all these market volatilities. Their reading on the market would be accurate compared to the other firms, right? Okay. So what else? Dominant firm will come on the examples here. Coca-Cola in the world, in soft drink companies. Okay. So yeah, Coca-Cola maybe have the higher market share, so thereby being the dominant price leader. What else? In airlines, what are the examples? In airlines also, in Sri Lanka, maybe that is not highly applicable. But when we take other countries, there are many airlines available in one country, functioning in one country. So again, there could be a dominant firm and maybe a low-cost firm as well, and also a barometric leader as well. What else? Elephant house, in which ice cream and soft drinks, elephant houses, dominant firm. Okay, largest market share. Anything else? Unilever in terms of what? In consumer goods. Maybe multinational companies. Unilever has the largest market share. Okay. Any other? Come on, examples. SLT in telecommunication. So they have the largest market share. How about the lowest cost? Rice. Okay, rice providers. So they have largest market share. Any example for lowest cost? Lowest cost and Hamgunal. Check about cement. Look at the lowest cost example. Cargills in terms of lowest cost. But the problem is if we take cargills in the oligopoly market structure, then we have to justify, right? In the supermarket chains, do we have only few firms on? Because like if we define it supermarkets only, then maybe okay, cargills, Keels, then what else do we have? This Spa and Arpico, Glowmark, likewise. However, if we take it as like a retail shop, goods, there are many. Then it comes to monopolistic. So you have to be a little bit cautious when you are defining supermarkets. Either it could be belong to monopolistic competition as well. Okay. In cement, who has the lowest cost? Any idea? No. Lanka in cement industry names together companies. We have INSEE, Sansda, and FC. Tokyo. So among them, Tokyo is said to be have the lowest cost. So likewise, so those examples for your reference, even though they are not in the slides, you can write. These are at least 1 or 2 examples per each. Okay. Then we are going to discuss how this price leadership by a dominant firm happens. That means the largest market share belongs to one particular firm. That firm is the dominant firm. How then price leadership model function under this category? So the price leader means leader's demand curve is market demand curve minus supply by the followers. So that means in this market, if we take the quantity here, the market demand is here 1,000 cements, like packs of cements are demanded by the entire market. 1,000 is the market demand. Let's say rest of the firms, let's say Tokyo is the leader, all other few firms supplies together, others, followers, suppliers, let's say 400. 400. Okay. So then we say this is the demand for lead, right? So the market supply minus, market demand minus the supply by the followers, we get the leader's demand curve. So here what happens? We check from the entire market, what is the supply by all the followers? The rest of the firms, how much they are going to supply. We deduct that supply from the total market demand. Then we assume the rest of the demand is supplied by the leader. So we say here the market demand minus the supply by the followers gives you the demand for leader, right? So the dominant firm in the market determines the price for the product based on their marginal revenue and marginal cost. Now the dominant firm or the price leader decides the price where his MR equals FC happens. Then followers, other firms follow the price determined by the leader. Leader determines the price and the firms follow them. Okay. Then finally, take market price as given and behave as perfect competitors. Right? So then the rest of the firms or all the followers behave as perfectly competitive firms. Why? They are taking the price. They are price takers. Whatever the price decided by the market leader is taken by the followers. So they behave like perfectly competitive firms. Understood? So now we are going to discuss the concept using the diagram. So this is the market demand. Okay? The red line is the market demand. Now this is the supply by the followers. That means the supply by the followers. So now if we know the market demand, if we know the supply by the followers, then we can determine the leader's demand, right? මෙයාගේ market demand එකේ suppliers followers supply කරන ප්‍රමාණය අඩු කරාම residual demand එක තමයි leader ගේ demand කරන්නේ. ඒතුළු ටිකම නෑ leader ගෙන් තමයි ඉල්ලන්නේ. So here this is the leader's demand. Now we have leader's demand. Now we have the marginal revenue of leader's demand. මෙයාට marginal revenue එක අඳ ගන්නවා. Then we draw the marginal cost. Marginal revenue and marginal cost of leader equals here. So we go from here until we meet the leader's demand curve. So the P star is the price determined in the market. Market taken by the leader. So the P star, where the demand of leader, marginal revenue of leader, marginal cost of leader. MRL equals to MCL happens here. So at A, the price is determined as P star. Understood? Right. Then, at this, now what happened? The first step is price is determined by the leader. Then we have to check at the determined price how much the followers are going to supply. So at P star, if we go until we meet the supply of the followers, at P star, the B quantity of P is supplied by the followers. P star the B දක්වා quantity එක followers එක supply කරනවා. However, the market demand under P star is C. C දක්වා ඉල්ලනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ market එකේ. So that remaining demand. දැන් මෙතෙන්ද P star යටතේ B දක්වා followers ටික දෙනවා. So from B to C is supplied by the leader. Okay. Okay. Now can you please draw this? So when you are drawing here, you have to make sure first you draw the market demand, then the supply by the followers, right? So then you can see, now please look at the book. Here you can see at P1, when you make P1 level, the importance here is under P1 price, the entire market demand is supplied by the followers. Followers are good market demand. So can the leader supply something under P1? No. What is this demand of the leader at P1? P1 leader the P1 no. The entire market demand is supplied by the followers. Then what is the demand for the leader at P1? 0. So that's why here at P1 the demand is 0. Supply leader supply current is 0 at P1. However, if we take P2 at this price, what is the supply by followers? What is the supply by followers? 0. Suppliers or followers do not supply any amount, right? So their supply is 0. That means the entire market so this entire market demand has to be supplied by the leader and P2. And P2 එකේදී followers දෙන්න කියනවා. එහෙනම් මුළු demand එකම දෙන්න leader. So that's why this demand of leader goes from P1 to P2. මෙන්න මේ limit එකේ තමයි demand එක යන්නේ. Understood? Okay. A විදිහට ඇදලා තමයි MR එක ඇදලා you have to decide all other steps. Okay. Now draw this. Okay. The rice leadership model, I think, I suppose all of you can understand. From the policy of oligopoly, the first model, rice leadership. The second model, I still draw some other. To be on the safe side, shall I check here and there? Do you have drawing correct? Their market production or the supply, how it is distributed among the followers and the leader also, right? So 0 to B, market demand is market out of total market demand. First write like this, total market demand at P star is how much? 0 to C. So the supply by followers at P star 0 to B. The supply by the leader at P star B to C. It is the other constant. So the first point is, what is the market demand under P star? And the first point under P star, market demand is 0 to C. Then the second point is, what is the supply by the followers under P star? What is the supply by the followers under or at P star? So that is 0 to B. Then the third point is the supply by the leader at P star, that is from B to C. B to C tamai leader supply charge. Okay. Right. Now we are moving to cartel, right? So cartel is a group of firms that explicitly agree to coordinate their activities. It's called a cartel. So cartel is a group of firms. They formally agreed to coordinate their activities, right? So they have limited the competition among themselves and agreed to act as a one group. So if that's the case, we say that's a partnership. These firms may agree on how much each firm will sell or on a common price. So either the cartel can decide on the quantity that they sell or the price they sell. Maybe they will decide on, okay, all together, everyone of us going to supply the our product under this price, the uniform price. Or else they can decide, okay, this total market demand, let's divide among ourselves and let's supply like this, like the production quota. So each of the firm is assigned with a fixed quota, right? So you are not going to exceed that quota. If you are assigned 100 units to produce, that particular one firm is produce 100 units only. The other firms produce whatever the quota assigned to that firm. Accordingly, they will mutually decide how much to produce, right? So that is, so how much each firm will sell or on a common price. They can decide either on price or the quantity. Anyway, they are going to limit the competition and come to an agreement among themselves. So that is a cartel. By cooperating and behaving like a monopoly, the members of a cartel collectively earn the monopoly profit, the maximum possible profit. So here, if they have form of a cartel, they have the, normally they are strong now, right? So all together, every firm in the cartel, together they can act as a monopoly. They might provide the largest market share, right? So they will cater the largest market share. So they have the higher power for this cartel, all the firms in the cartel. So if that's the case, they can act as a monopoly. Together they will decide what is the maximum price we are going to charge in order to maximize their profit. Understood? So cartel can behave like a monopoly. Now, this Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, is an international cartel that was formed in 1960 by 5 major oil exporting countries. Now, I think there are like many number of members for the OPEC. Sometimes the founding members might not be in the cartel. So there are changes happened like in the history. There are changes for the members. But still, the OPEC organization or that cartel is there. So the major oil exporting countries, they have come together and established this OPEC organization. So that's a cartel, right? So together they decide how much unit of crude oil barrels to be supplied for the global demand, and also what price to be charged for this per barrel, but price to be charged. Understood? So that is how they decide. So why they are forming a cartel? What is the reason to form a cartel? Let's suppose there is no cartel. Let's suppose for all these oil exporting countries, there is no formal organization or no, there's no cartel. So they independently provide the supply. Then what is the main issue that they would come across? ඒගොල්ලන්ට එන පළවෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ මොකක්ද? ඒගොල්ලෝ independently act කරොත්. Yes, maybe a price competition. Sometimes maybe like everybody wants to maximize their profit. No, everybody wants to maximize the profit. So they will try to sell a large number of units. ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් තෙල් ඒගොල්ලෝ විකුණන බැරල් ගන්න වැඩි කරන්න තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ බලන්නේ. In order to increase their revenue. So when they supply more and more, what happened to the global supply? Now, so altogether global supply of oil increases. When the supply increases, what happened to the price? Price decreases. Now, is it profitable for individual firms? They could individually supply the global supply. So when the global supply is increased, the global price in the market decrease. So is it okay for them? No. Having a lower prices again reduce their profit. So now what they do, in order to avoid that, there is an incentive to form a cartel. So they will form a cartel, then they will decide we are not going to supply a large quantity. We will limit the production. So if the market demand is 100, let's produce 60 only. So then our supply is less. If the supply is less than the demand, what happened to the price? The price increases, right? Then demand එක වැඩි the price increase. So that is profitable for them. ඒගොල්ලන්ට හැමෝටම දෙන වැඩි price එකක් හම්බෙනවා. So each firm reduces its output, which leads to higher prices and higher profits for individual firms and the firms collectively. So did you understand the motive of a cartel? They want to increase their profit. So to do that, they will come together as a cartel and make up an agreement to reduce the production. They will have some production quotas on each other. So they will produce the global, or they will contribute to the global supply, which is less than the demand. So the price will go up, thereby they will, all of them individually and all together, they will make a profit. Understood? So that is the reason to make a cartel. So what are the reasons for cartels to fail? The cartel, එකක් හදන්න incentive එක we do to maximize the profit. So what are the reasons for cartels to fail? Non-cartel members supply consumers with large quantities of goods. Each member of a cartel has an incentive to cheat on the cartel act. So one reason for a cartel to fail is if the non-member countries in this OPEC, let's suppose here OPEC supplies the major, they contribute to the major component of the global supply of oil. But what if there is a non-member country who is supplying a large amount? Then මුළු global demand එකේ භාගයකට වැඩිය supply කරන රටක් oil එන්නේ නැහැ කාර්යයට. Then he can like actively change the price in the market because non-member country, but they have the largest market share. If that is the case, then this cartel is likely to be fail, right? එයාට එතකොට function කරන්න බෑ. Non-member countries at large market share එකක් තියෙනවා. And each member of a cartel has an incentive to cheat on the cartel agreement. What if they cheat? So they like agree, okay, I will supply this and that. We will supply our production at this price. But they come and they cheat to the agreement. Then what happens? They are providing a larger quantity than agreed quantity. Then they are a cheater. And also they might lower the price than agreed and supply a higher quantity. Then again they are cheating. Understood? So if that's the case, if the members are like secretly cheat with each other, again that is the reason for this cartel to fail. And then what we have to do to continue a cartel? Maintaining cartels. So we have to first detection. That means we have to closely monitor and detect whether the members are cheating or not. Understood? If the cartel members are cheating to each other and go to the market and secretly providing a larger quantity than agreed, then that is not beneficial for the entire cartel. So then they have to detect. How they detect? So normally in OPEC, they normally audit all these production reports, how much quantity is produced by each of the countries. So they closely monitor. So detection. Then if they detect, okay, the production is higher than agreed, then they have to take action. Enforcement. So there should be proper ways or proper mechanism to enforce what are the actions that you are going to take if a member is found to be cheating. Member can cheat කරනවා නම් මොනවද enforce කරන්න ඕනි කියලා බලලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට වෙන්න ඕනේ, right? So are they going to expel that member from the cartel, or are they going to dissolve the cartel, or are they going to punish that member by limiting their production or not allowing to produce for a certain period time likewise, or are they going to compete with price? එතකොට එයාලා decide කරන්න වෙනවා cheating member ට මොකද කරන්න කියලා. So they have to enforce. And also they can take government support also. Normally it is Like we say, forming a card. Okay. Now I will give you some time to discuss with your friend and come up with an answer. Why cartel is not beneficial for an economy? Can you discuss and tell me why cartel is not preferred? Normally for cartel, this government support is limited. Government can support the governmental or government organizational cartels are very limited in the country and the world. So OPEC is also non-governmental. Why? We can take the government support in order to like continue to maintain the cartel, but why the cartels are not said to be not beneficial for an economy? Can I cartel එකක් හොඳ නැති වෙන්නේ economy එක from the overall point of view, considering both producers and consumers. Let's check. Quantity that agreement to. So they can either agree on price or quantity.
Quantity can see the quality. Take a rest of the
Okay.
quantity content they have the quality.
So normally like we would not like especially focus on the quality here. Normally we assume the product is similar among all the members in the cartel. එකම විදිහේ product එකක් දෙන්නේ ඔක්කොමලා quantity එක බෙදා ගන්න. Out of total market demand, how much units you are going to supply or not. Like price. නැත්නම් මේ අපි ඔක්කොම ටික supply කරන්නේ price එකට කියලා cartel එක. Quality wise ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය කාර්යයක් ඉන්න කට්ටිය ඔක්කොම එකම විදිහට quality එක ගන්නවා. මොකද එකම product එක දෙන්න ඕනේ. Otherwise there is a difference in the market demand. No? If you are supplying a differentiated product, එතනදී නම් one product එක මේ රටේ ඔයලු අනිත් රටේ ඔයලු significantly different නම් market demand දෙකක් වෙනවනේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට. That does not happen. So what is the reason?
Wastage.
Why?
Out actual
Why you are thinking it's a wastage? Normally they are providing a quantity which is less than the market demand in order to increase the price. Quantity හඩුවෙන් තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලා
thing out from
higher prices, right? So like remember all the countries in the all the countries, so all the members in the cartel, if they come together, they can act as a monopoly, right? Single seller කෙනෙක් වගේ act කරන්න පුළුවන්. Largest market share එකක් cartel එකට තියෙනවා. If that's the case, they can decide whatever the price they want to charge. So they will decide on a very high price, but nobody can compete with them because they have the largest market share, largest power created upon creating the cartel. Cartel එක හදාගත්ත නිසා ලොකු power එකක් තිබුණා. If that's the case, what happens? Then they will charge whatever the price they want. ඒකට අපලා decide කරනවා හෙට ඉඳන් oil barrel එකක මිල double කරනවා කියලා. Nobody can argue, right? So the consumers would, at the end would, their consumer surplus would be minimum. In a surplus එක නැති වෙයි. Higher price එකක් ගෙවන්නේ. So the economic efficiency is not there. Price is way far more greater than the marginal cost. Price is not equal to marginal cost, so the allocative efficiency is not there. They will decide the very lower quantity, so the productive efficiency is not there. So economically, it is not efficient. Understood? Yeah. Okay. So if I ask a question in the exam, why the cartel are said to be not effective in terms of economic welfare? You should be able to help the answer. Okay. All right. So now we have completed the policy oligopoly, both price leadership and cargoes. Now we are going to start non-policy oligopoly, who not. So the king demand curve model we have already discussed. Now the remaining part is Coulomb model. After that we can finish the oligopoly. In Coulomb model we consider only duopoly, two firms case scenario. Okay, Coulomb's duopoly model. So we will discuss how to graphically and algebraic version solve this not model equation. Right. So what is this Coulomb duopoly model? This model was introduced first time by the French economist Augustin Coulomb in 1838, and this model firms simultaneously choose quantities without column, and those firms are assumed never to learn from past experience. So the main assumption in this model is, again, this is a non-collusive. There is no coordination among the firms. So we assume the firms decide the quantity to produce simultaneously. If there are two firms A and B both decide their quantities together. I will produce this much, B will decide I will produce this much. Okay. Without a coordination, without one. And assume able to learn from past experience. Let's suppose now the firm A and B both decide some quantities and make loss. Then again, it doesn't matter. They will never learn from past experience. ඒක හිතලා ඊළඟ පාර react වෙන විදිය වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා we assume, right? So the main assumptions of the original Coulomb model are there are two firms and no other firms can enter. So this is a duopoly. We assume gas providers, Lanka and Litro විතරයි. The firms set their quantities independently and simultaneously. So it means Lanka and Litro, they will decide the quantities simultaneously. At the market, cylinders මෙච්චරක් දානවා කියලා එකපාර දෙන්නම හිතනවා. Independent and simultaneously. The firms have identical costs. The firms sell identical products. So the products are same. And for the simplicity, we assume both firms have same cost. But there could be different costs as well. For the simplicity, we assume same cost. The assumptions above may be relaxed in the real world example. අපිට assumptions release කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉස්සරහට යනකොට, but for the basic model we assume all these assumptions. Then let's say there are two oil companies, company A and company B, operating in the same region. They both decide how much oil to produce each day. So every day they have to decide the production quantity. They take into account the other company's production and set their production levels to maximize their own profit while considering the impact of the competitors' output of the market price of oil. So what they do, now let's say firm A and firm B, they want to decide their quantity. Firm A will think firm B will produce this much of quantity. So the A හිතනවා B මෙච්චරක් හදයි කියලා. They assume that quantity of the other firm. Accordingly, they will decide if the firm B produces this much of quantity, I will produce this. Understood? මෙයාගේ මෙච්චරක් කියලා හිතලා මම කොච්චරක් හදනවද කියලා plan කරනවා. Right? In order to maximize my profit. So when deciding the output, company A thinks that company B output will remain the same and decides company A's profit maximizing output. So when A decides its output, A has to assume how much of units B will produce. The A ආගේ quantity එක හිතනකොට B කොච්චරක් හදයිද කියලා assume කරනවා. So again, the A assumes that quantity he assumed on B will remain unchanged. Understood? එතකොට දැන් A හිතන්නත් දැන් මම අද දවසේ කොච්චරක් හදන්න ඕනේද කියලා හිතනකොට එයා බලනවා B කොච්චරක් හදයිද කියලා හිතනවා. එයා හිතුවොත් B 50ක් හදයි කියලා he will assume that 50 will be same constant. ඒ ගානට තියේ. A වෙනස් නොකරයි කියලා හිතනවා. Understood? So B වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැති වෙයි කියලා A firm එක හිතනවා. But company's B's output will not remain the same for a longer time. Seeing company's A output, company B will react and change its profit maximizing output. Then again, company A will react to this change in output. So how this happens? Now we have two firms, A and B. We have two firms, A and B. Now firm A think, okay, we will produce something. We will produce 50 kilo A hill. And A assumes we will do not change the quantity. Think is that he will produce 6. Now what we do? We also, let's say we produce the same quantity 50, that the assumed quantity. When we look at this quantity, then he thinks, okay, it's producing 60. Then I'm going to change my production to maximize my profit. So again, we will change. Likewise, they are reacting to each other's quantity. A quantity කොච්චරක් වේද කියලා හිතලා B හදනවා. හැබැයි A quantity එක ඇත්තටම වෙනස් නම් B A quantity එක බලලා ආයෙ වෙනස් කරනවා B quantity එක. Understood? So they are reacting to each other. Likewise, after several actions and reactions, both companies will reach a stable state, which is called the Coulomb equilibrium. At the end, they will come to a point where they reach to the equilibrium. When they reach to that equilibrium, we say that is Coulomb equilibrium. From that point, we are not going to change. react they will decide on the equilibrium quantity. Okay? So there is no collision. Agreement reactions and actions. They will come to the final point of the equilibrium. So that is why the Coulomb is under non-coalescing value. So when we are talking about the Coulomb model, we have to talk about the reaction curve. The reaction curve approach is a more powerful method of analysis of oligopolistic markets because it allows the relaxation of the assumption of identical cost and identical demand. So that cost එක වගේ demand එක කියන assumptions release කරන්න පුළුවන් when we are forming up the reaction curve. The reaction curve depicts the relationship between the quantity of the firm should produce to maximize profit and the amount it assumes the other firm will make. Right? So this reaction curve gives you the relationship between the quantity of firm A that should produce to maximize A's profit, assuming or pre-assuming. ඇත්තටම වෙන්නේ අපි කලින් assume කරනවා pre-assuming the quantity from the firm B. Okay. So the reaction curve is also the conditional marginal profit function of one firm, assuming that the other firm's output is zero. So you will understand the concept with the numerical example. Okay. Okay, let's go to the numerical example first. Now, the total demand is this much. Q equals 339 minus P. That is the market demand. So this entire market demand is going to be supplied by two gas companies, firm 1 and firm P, Litro and Love. Okay. So quantity, price, then both the firms we assume have a same marginal cost. So the marginal cost or average cost is 147. Okay. Now divide your book into two parts. It's going to part Litro for firm 1, Love for firm 2. Okay. Now please calculate profit maximizing quantity or MR equal MC conditions. The only thing you have to remember is when you are calculating total revenue. Now the demand is given your Q equal 339. It's 39 minus P. This Q means here we have Q1 and also Q2. Litro So when you are doing the total revenue, you have to make sure this Q is extended. Q1 plus Q2 then other total revenue with Mulima than the budget. So this is the steps you have to follow. First, rewrite the demand equation as the inverse demand. Total revenue So then expand the inverse demand curve, accommodating both Q1 and Q2. Now I know total revenue equals for the firm 1 P into Q1. Here, when you are taking the total revenue, you multiply P by Q1 because we are looking at the firm 1. The firm 1 की quantity can तुम्हें vary करना होगा entire class. So, P39 minus Q1 minus Q2 multiplied by Q1. Then what do we get? Total revenue P39 Q1 minus Q1 squared minus Q1 Q2. Then you have to differentiate the total revenue in terms of Q1 to get the marginal revenue of firm 1. So it is 339 minus 2Q1 minus Q2K. Then you have to equal marginal revenue of firm 1 to marginal cost. Here the marginal cost is given as 147. So you simplify. Simplify this in terms of Q1. Firm 1 again Q1 look the simplify. Did you get this one? Yes. Okay. Now repeat the same steps here in terms of Q2. The Q2 I took the again. Take the same expression for the first two. Done? Is this difficult for you? Why? You're making it difficult. This is the same topic. MR equal MC. The only thing here is, now look at the board, stop all your work, look at the board. First thing here is, this is the total market demand. So, if you want to take it and have the total revenue and marginal revenue, very first thing you should know is, we have to convert this to inverse demand with respect to P. And it done at the, you know. So, we write the original demand as the inverse demand curve. Now the only difference here is, here in this market there are two firms. So this quantity comes from firm 1 and firm 2. So we cannot just have one market marginal revenue and marginal cost because there are two firms. Now we are going to do two maximizing quantities for firm 1 and firm 2. In the firm 1, now here we expand the inverse demand curve. This Q has both Q1 and Q2. Now when we multiply it by the minus mark, so 339 minus Q1 minus Q2. Okay. Now how do we get the total revenue? Price into quantity. Now which total revenue? Which firm? Firm 1 total revenue. So that P into Q1. Understood? Firm 1 making quantity again the way price depend. So the price equation is here. It is had to be multiplied by Q1. It will 339 Q1. Q1 into Q1 minus Q1 square. Q1 into Q2 Q1. Now what do we have to do? We have to differentiate this total revenue with respect to Q1. Firm 1 to get the marginal revenue. As 339 Q1 when differentiate Q1 nothing 339. Q1 square differentiate Q1 then is 2 Q1. So here Q1 Q2 differentiate Q1 make Q1 then minus Q2 equivalent. Then we have to take that marginal revenue of firm 1 and equate that with the marginal cost. IMC 1 here the marginal cost for both firms, that is common. 147. And then we just simplify and take the expression with respect to Q1. And then Q1 look the color you get 96 minus half Q1. So for this we say here, this is we say firm 1's best response function. Okay, so this is firm, not this Q, this part, firm 1's best response function. That means depending on, oh sorry, here this should be given to 1. 96 minus half Q2. So depending on what is Q2, firm 2 again quantity of the mother, firm 1's quantity depends. Understood? So we get an expression Q1 should be 96 minus half to the whatever the amount firm 2 is producing. Understood? So we are doing the same thing for the firm 2 as well. Now, we know price equal 339 minus Q1 minus Q2. Then total revenue of firm 2 should be equal to P into Q2. So 339 minus Q1 minus Q2. We have to multiply by Q2. Then we get 339 Q2 minus Q1 Q2 minus Q2 square. This is the total revenue of firm 2. Then we differentiate the total revenue of firm 2 with respect to Q2 now. Firm 2, then we get 339 minus Q1 minus 2Q. So 2Q. Then MR2 should, this is MR2. MR2 should be equal to marginal cost. 339 minus Q1 minus 2Q2 should be equal to 147. එතකොට මේ Q2 උක්ත කරලා ලියාගන්නයි ඕනේ. So then if we simplify 339 minus 147 minus Q1 should be equal to 2Q2. And Q2 and now this entire 339 minus 147 is 192. Minus Q1 should be divided by 2. Q2 equals 96 minus half Q1. So this one we say that is the best response function of two. That means depending on what is the amount produced by the firm 1, we will decide the firm 2's quality. Okay, write down this. හරියට ලියන්න. Okay. Okay. Now is that clear? No. Now we have find two functions. Firm 1's best response function and firm 2 best response function. That means depending on the firm's two output, what is the best response I should do? Firm 1. 2 එකේනා කොච්චරක් හදනවද කියලා බලලා ඒ අනුව මම කොච්චරක් හදන්න ඕනේද කියලා තමයි මෙයා කියන්නේ. Here also firm 1 කොච්චරක් හදනවද කියලා බලලා මම කොච්චරක් හදන්න ඕනේද for the firm 2. Understood? So now we have to find. Now this is happened like this. Now here let's suppose him to produces 50 50ක් හදනවා කියලා. So what is Q1 should produce? How much? Q2 50ක් නම් හදන්නේ 50 දෙකෙන් මෙතුවම 25යි 25 25 කට් කරපුවාම කියලා 72 71, right? So then Q1 should produce 71. එතකොට මෙයා 71 හදන. Then what the Q firm 2 do? Firm 2 බලනවා මෙයා 72 හදනවා. ඊට මම කොච්චරක් හදන්න? Take 72 as the Q1's production. 72 දෙකෙන් මෙතන 96 යනකොට Q2 decide its production. එතකොට මොකද Q1 කරන්නේ? අරයාගේ මේක අරගෙන ආයෙ මේකට දාලා මෙයා හදන. Likewise, actions and reactions. දෙපැත්තටම respond react කරගෙන යනවා දෙකට. Now this comes to an end where they reach to the Coulomb equilibrium. To decide that what happened, these two should be equal. අපි කියනවා equilibrium එකේදී the best response functions දෙක සමාන වෙන්න ඕනේ here. So now what we do here, we say and equilibrium is Q1 equals 96 minus half Q2 should be equal to Q2 equal 96 minus half Q1. So at the equilibrium, Q1 and Q2 should be equal, right? So now what we do here, if Q1 equals 96 minus half Q2, then Q2 here we know Q2 equals 96 minus half Q1. So we substitute here 96 minus half Q2 equals this one. 96 minus half Q1. So now we simplify. 96 minus 96 into half here. 48. Is it? Minus, this becomes plus, minus to minus. This. Okay. Now here we have all the things with this one term. Like Q1, Q2, Q1. You can do the otherwise or other way around also. It doesn't matter. Now we simplify. If we reduce this 1/4 from this side, and why not this again here? 48 next. Right. Then we have so here full 1 minus 1/4. Then Q1 equals 48 into 4 divided by 3. How much? Huh? That's along here. 64. Now we found Q1 equals 64. And then Q2 have done better. Here, Q2 equals 96 minus half Q1. So then Q1 64 and 96 minus half into 64. Q2 also 64. Now you know Q1 is 64, Q2 is 64. When both firms reach to its quantity 64 and 64, they comes to the equilibrium. When they reach to equilibrium, there is no tendency for them to change. එතනින් එහාට වෙනස් කරන්නේ නැහැ. Then all this amount comes to the same amount. Okay. Here then what is the market price? The price හොයාගන්න. How do we find the price? Here price equal 339 minus Q. Total quantity. Right? The price එක දෙන්නට බැරි එක. Then you have to take the total quantity. 64 plus 64. P equals 339 minus is 64 plus 64. Both of the quantities. So the price will be 211. So 64 is the Nash, we call it Nash equilibrium or Coulomb equilibrium. We say it's Nash equilibrium. Here now, we can find it in algebraic. Now this is the algebraic version. The numerically, how do we find the Nash equilibrium? Or else we can find the same thing graphically as well. Here. Now, first step is determine the total demand of the market and the residual demand of a firm, given the firm's belief about how much fiber will sell. So, total market demand, residual market demand. එතකොට total market demand එකේ firm B කොච්චරක් හදයිද කියලා හිතලා ඒක අඩු කරලා අපි ගන්න අපේ residual demand. So determine the firm's best response function. Use each best response function to determine the Nash Coulomb equilibrium. Now, here firm A analyze the market demand and assume firms B supply. Based on the findings, firm A decides its own supply and profit maximum price. So A supply and total demand again B supply and then firms B reacts to the decision of firms A. This continues until the market reaches to Coulomb equilibrium. Now here, graphically, how do we find? We draw both of the best response functions. Here we have quantity of love, quantity of litro. අපේ litro හිටියේ firm 1 එකේ නේද? So firm 1 quantity එක මෙතන දානවා, firm 2 quantity එක මෙතන දානවා. Best response functions දෙක ඇඳලා A දෙක කැපෙන තැන තමයි අපිට එන්නේ equilibrium. Now draw the best response functions for this. The best response දෙක හොයාගත්තානේ. ඒ දෙක අඳින්න බලන්න. Telling this is what? No project. Okay. So how did you do? So when quantity firm to zero, what is the amount of quantity one? There zero වෙනවා කියන්නේ 96 වෙනවා නේද? Here. දැන් බලන්න මෙන්න මෙහි. Q1 Q2 zero නම් මෙතන zero දාගත්තම Q1 කියලා. That's 96. So at Q2 0, Q1 96. If Q1 0, what is Q2? Q1 0. Remember then? Q1 0 and Q2 here. Q2 may better again or 96 selling value. Then how much? 192 million. Okay. So when Q1 0, then 192. So we combine these 2 points. Then this is the firm one this response function. The this response function. So here, this one we say, it make you and graph y. If there is no firm 2, firm 2 එකක් නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ 1 විතරයි green dash එකට මේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද? එයා මොනොපොලි එකක්. එහෙනම් මොනොපොලි එකක් වුණොත් එයා 96ක් සප්ලයි කරන්න කැමතියි. Literal firm 1. මෙයා නැති වුණොත්. Okay. Now, following the same approach, we are going to draw the best response function for the firm 2 as well. So for the firm 2, Q2 equal 96 minus half Q1. Q1, Q2, Q1, when Q1 with Q2 is 0, Q1 is 192. When Q1 is 0, this is 96. So here we have and 92. We have 2 best response. Okay. So here, when these 2 intersect, we say this is the Nash equilibrium. We were calculating already 64 and 64. Shall we take a small break then? And after that, let's do another calculation for the Coulomb because that will be tested in your exam as well. Okay. And also make sure here in this case it is easier for you. Because the marginal cost was same for the both firms. But you should be given 2 marginal costs as well. Marginal cost term දෙකක් දෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම වුණොත් අදාළ එකෙන් අදාළ එකට අරගෙන profit maximizing කරන්න. Understood? So shall we meet after 10 minutes? Then we'll do another calculation. Okay.
Online class You are now the performance presentation sport control. That's why program
Okay.
May patata. Laman. Namanya ya apa jadi kan di saya treatmentnya waktu saya gitu tahun dari mana kita nggak pengen nambah itu so pelanggaran bahasa menjadi menjadi santang turun malah silakan I forgot what I saw.
All right. Shall we discuss this? Yes. Okay. Done. Done. So let's do it. So the inverse demand curve is 100 minus Q. So we know within this Q, both Q1 and Q2 are there. So P equals 100 minus Q1 minus Q2 is the inverse demand curve. So for the firm one, total revenue equals P into Q1. 100 Q1 minus Q1 squared minus Q1 Q2. So the marginal revenue equals 100 minus 2Q1 minus Q2. So marginal cost equals 40. Here this one also. Total cost equal 40 Q1 plus Q2. Right? So it is like 40 Q1 plus 40 Q2. Okay. Now here we are considering only this part when we are like total cost equal 40 Q1 plus 40 Q2. So marginal cost of one equal TC. We have to differentiate with respect to Q1. Then it is 4. Okay, that part? Yes. Right. So here MUR1 should be equal to MC1. Then 100 minus 2 Q1 minus Q2 should be equal to 4. Then 2 Q1 should be equal to 60 minus Q2. Q1 equals 30 minus half. Is this the best response solution? For the other one, it should be Q2 equal 30 minus half Q1. So then find the Nash equilibrium. Q1 equals 30 minus half Q2. So we can write the same as the table. 30 minus half Q1. Then 30 minus 50 minus 40. Is it 20? Yes. So Q1 and Q2 equals 20. So what is the price? Price equals C. Is it 100 minus Q? 100 minus 4. Price equals 6. If I ask you the profit of the entire industry or profit of one firm, can you do it? If I ask you to find the profit of each firm, how do you do? Total revenue minus total cost. Do it also. Take the profit of the each function. And also you are supposed to draw the best response functions as well. ඒ දෙකත් ඇඳලා පෙන්නන්න ඕන. So who wants to mark the attendance manually? What's your number? 3. You're only number 3. That's all. All others mark. So what's the profit? How much is the profit? Total revenue minus total cost. What is the profit of the first function? We're going to make a Magana conversion. How much? You didn't count? Remember. So did you find the profit? Yeah. Yes. Q1 में Q1 our quantity एक substitute करेंगे.
It's an executive of the family. Learn something.
If you are now done, you are going to substitute the function. For the cost, you will give that. Even that. P into Q, whether make the easiest way to do it. P into Q, make up just Q. The 100Q minus Q square. That's the take of it. Pricing capacity for the entire market is the entire market PI and P into Q. P one or Q two, then P into Q. The Q will go that one beside the 24. The entire Q and that's 40. They pricing pricing this is nice, so you have to take total revenue minus total cost. So how do we do? So when you are going to find the profit and the profit of the entire market, so now you know total revenue equals P into Q. Inside Q, you have no Q1 and Q2. That is 20 plus 20, 40. Right? So P is 100 minus Q. This is into Q. So for the entire market, total revenue is 100 Q minus Q square. So for the entire total cost for the market is 40 Q. So now you know Q, right? So the profit for the entire market is 100 Q minus Q square minus 40 Q. If you simplify, that is 60 Q minus Q square. So the Q equals 20 plus 20. 40. So substitute 40 here, find profit for the entire market. Are you okay? Can I? This is for the total market. So that is not Q1 or Q2 together, both values. Q1 plus Q2. That means the big Q. So what I would expect from you is, if you are given with a demand curve for the market and also maybe total cost for the two curves can be identical or maybe two cost curves. You should be able to find the matching period if it's a quota. So the steps you have to follow are: first, find the total revenue for each of the curve, marginal revenue, marginal cost, then marginal revenue equal marginal cost at what level. So take the best response functions, equate those two to each other, then find the quantity as equal. Understood? Then please draw it. I will not ask for the profit or the other things. I would expect for you to find the Nash equilibrium numerically and show it graphically in a diagram. Okay, that is my expectation from this part. Understood? Right. Now, since the oligopoly part is a little bit lengthy, now let's sum up the oligopoly. Okay. So on the oligopoly, what you have, well, that's the question. Are you all okay? Huh? Are you okay? Not okay, but you're not telling me why you are not okay. And you wait until for me to leave and you are going to like put the blame on me, right? You is the not like you should solving the issue in the class. What is the issue now? Cannot understand. Go not. Okay. Are you all okay? Right. So let us sum up oligopoly now before starting the next session. Now, what is oligopoly? The main feature is there are few firms, right? So either they can get together, coordinate with each other, set the price or quantity, or else they can act independently and compete with each other. So depending on their decision, we categorize them cohesive or non-cohesive. That is okay, no? So what are the examples for cohesive oligopoly? We learned two. Cohesive, that means coordinate with each other. Cartel and price leadership. So under price leadership, what happened? Leader set the price, and depending on that price, all other firms take the price and act as perfectly competitive firms, right? So you should be able to draw it like if I ask you to show how the price leadership model works graphically, then you should be able to draw the diagram. Okay. So how about cartel? They get together and set the price or quantity together, right? So example is okay. So you learn these two. Then we come to the non-cohesive oligopoly. That means they are not coordinating with each other, but they are competing with each other. What are the two options? Huh? First one, last day we learned. King demand curve model, and the second one, Cournot duopoly, right? So in the king demand curve, what happened? If one firm increase the price, all other firms will do not follow. They do not follow. If one firm reduce the price, all firms will follow. So they face elastic plus inelastic portion. So a kink demand curve. Since they have a kink demand curve, there is a discontinuity in marginal revenue curves, right? Therefore, within that discontinued area, doesn't matter how much your marginal cost curve changes, the price is same. So, price rigidity is explained by the kink demand curve model. Okay? Right. Then we came to the Cournot model. Then what happened? In the Cournot model, there are a set of assumptions. Right? Under these assumptions, two firms react and they take actions and reactions based on the other's quantity. So all these, both of the firms simultaneously and independently decide their quantity. Depending on the other's quantity, they react. So we find the best response functions for each of the firm, equate those two and get the Nash equilibrium. That is where the two firms decide the quantity, the final quantity, and they come to the equilibrium. So that's all we learned under oligopoly. Okay. Right. Now, now we have covered the cover 4 market structures, starting from perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. So to remember all these market structures, what you have to do is take a piece of paper, one paper, and divide the paper into 4 parts. Okay. Then sum up everything under those 4 columns. Okay, 4 columns or 4 rows. However, you divide the paper. Then everything you can put inside. So then you don't need to recall the slides. That one paper will give you the summary version of the all 4 marker section. For example, if you divide your paper like this, if you put perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly here, let's talk about the features. What are the features? Okay, what are the features of perfect competition? What are the features of perfect competition? Homogeneous product, large number of sellers and buyers, price takers, free entry and exit to the market, perfect knowledge about buyers and sellers, perfect factors of production mobility, perfect mobility of factors of production. How about the monopoly features? There's a single seller, unique product without close substitutes. Barriers to entry and exit. Price setting. How about monopolistic competition? There are many sellers. Buyers are attracted to certain sellers. How about the product? Could be differentiated. Address. Demand is comparatively elastic because there are close substitutes for the product. Okay. For the oligopoly, we already discussed. So these are the features. So then what are the examples under each market structure? Examples. Can be examples for perfect competition? Examples for perfect competition? Eggs, rice, vegetable, fish, those are close examples. But we learned it's a rare phenomenon, extreme rare. There's no perfect examples, but we can give close examples. These markets are quite similar to perfect competition. Have a perfect competition. 100% suitable, appropriate examples we cannot find. Then how about the examples for monopoly? Railway, tobacco. In terms of power generation, Ceylon Electricity Board, board-to-board like this. How about monopolistic competition? Salons, restaurants, clothing stores, tuition classes, right? How about oligopoly? TV channels, newspaper organization or newspaper providers, what else? Commercial banks, cement, network providers. So these are the examples. Then short-run equilibrium. Short-run equilibrium. In the perfect competition, how do they make short? What type of profit they will make in short run? So you have like the last session next week, huh? And anything. Tell me. Short run එක මොනවගේ profit the perfect competitive firms earn කරන්නේ? Normal profit, abnormal profit, economic losses. So if I ask any of you to come to the board and draw 3 diagrams, any volunteer? This is right? What type of demand curve do they have? कोई वगैरह दे अलग demand curve देखो? हाँ? कोई वगैरह निकल कर है? Horizontal demand curve. So these are the mistakes you do. Axis name karanna hand. This is their marginal revenue. So this is their marginal cost. MR equal MC happens here. This is the quantity. Okay. So here, if the average cost go here, that means this entire part is abnormal profit. What can I understand that? So here, pricing to quantity. This is your marginal revenue. This is your marginal cost. MR equal MC happens here. If your average cost is here, normal profit. This is economic losses. So either they can make profit, losses, or even normal profit in the short run for the perfect condition, right? How about the monopoly? In the short run, monopoly is important. What type of profit or loss? So, what is the situation for monopoly? Huh? Yeah, yeah. No idea. Profit or loss? Could be both. No? In the short run, this is their demand curve. This is their marginal revenue. This is their marginal cost. Marginal revenue equal marginal cost happens here. This is their price. If the average cost goes like here, then this part is their profit. If the average cost goes here, this part is their loss, right? Even they can make normal profit also. The average cost is something like here, equals AC, normal. So all these three scenarios could happen for monopoly. How about monopolistic competition? Monopolistic competition? Diagram and attend how about monopolistic competition? In the short run, same scenarios. They can pick for break even and profit or losses. All these three scenarios. Then what is the difference between monopoly and monopolistic competition? And then the shape of your demand curve. For the monopolistic competition, your demand curve is elastic or inelastic. Can you elastic to inelastic? Huh? Elastic. Why? Because there are close substitutes for your product. එතකොට ඔයා මොනොපොලි එක මේ වගේ එකක් ඉලාස්ටික් ඉන්ඉලාස්ටික් එකක් එන්න ඕනේ මොනොපොලි එක මොනොපොලිස්ටික් කම්පිටිෂන් එකට එන්න ඕනේ ඉලාස්ටික් එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ ඩයග්‍රෑම් තුනට තමයි then for the oligopoly we are not dividing it to short run or long run. But what we do on oligopoly is we divide it depends on the cohesive and non-cohesive. What are the types? Yeah, and the name. Okay. Right. So how about long run? The long run ticket number. Long run. Huh? The long run. How about perfect competition? Normal profit on. Normal profit. So they are in there. Long run normal profit. We discuss how it leads to normal profit. Excess profit loss we discussed. Then how about monopoly in the long run? Huh? Normal profit? No? Then what? Yeah. It's not, no? In the long run, they are going to make profit. Monopoly. Then how about monopolistic competition? In the long run? Normal profit. When they were thinking, sorry, when they were thinking, a downward sloping AC right? In the long run. Right. So then in addition, what we discussed, for the monopoly we learned with two separate diagrams why there is no unique supply curve. Right? So you should be able to sum up everything into one paper. Market structures. එතකොට ඔය ටිකෙන් මම මොක කරත් අහන්නේ ඔය ටිකක් තමයි. එක්ක long run equilibrium එකක් ගැන හයි, එක්ක short run එක ගැන හයි, නැත්නම් ගානක් දීලා duopoly එක හදන්න කිය, නැත්නම් profit maximum එකේ හොයන්න කිය. We did questions for everything. Perfect competition එකටත් හදුවා, monopoly එකටත් හදුවා. MR එක හොයාගෙන MC වලට equal ගන්න කියයි. Or else I would ask which market structure is economically efficient, which one? මේ හතරෙන් කවුද economically efficient? Huh? No idea. අදමයි hand economic efficiency. මොන හරියන්නේ නැහැ පුතේ. Which one? Monopolistic competition. Hari hondai. And then I talk perfect competition. What are the two components of economic efficiency? Allocative efficiency and productive efficiency. Allocative efficiency when you go to the goodness. ඉගෙන ගත්තේ නැහැ? What is allocative efficiency? If price equals to marginal cost, that is allocative efficiency. Then what is productive efficiency? If that happens at the minimum point of average cost. ඒ දෙකම වෙන්නේ in the long run for the perfect competition only. අනිත් පාඩවත් ඒක වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So the perfect competitive firms in the long run becomes economically efficient. අනිත් අය නැත්තේ කියලා අපි කතා කරා. We compare all these together. Monopoly perfect competition, monopolistic competition, perfect competition. දෙපැත්ත ඇඳලා diagram ඇඳලා any one thing. All are there. නිකුත් මතක. Good luck with the exam. Now. What else we discussed? Perfect. The market structures. Samanadar ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන්නේ. කොයි ප්‍රශ්නද තියෙන්නේ? මටත් ප්‍රශ්නයක්. Why you cannot remember anything? Huh? Actually, this is the very first time that you are hearing these words. Economic efficiency. Huh? I have no idea why you guys are very reluctant to study. Okay, all are hanging the keyword are hanging under attendance mark they. They're not giving marks for the attendance. Attendance mark they're not good. I'm not giving. I don't know whether the institution gives. I will not give marks. What are the questions you want to do? Can I have huh? Now it's too late to ask you. Until lecture you have a you can't do the exam like this, huh? Understood? So you have to be very well prepared for the exam. Because I do not like to consider okay, my students are very poor, they do not study, so I will ask straight questions from the handouts. Your handout tickets, they will slide ticket in a too many point again. No, I'm not going to do that. The question would be tricky. I told you, even I gave you set up reading questions for each of the lessons. Do not take up category, right? Perfect competition again for sure. Even monopoly also, I think we did. We do questions too. What can I'll do that, huh? We have to practice. So with that, we finish the market structures. So the questions I would expect in the exam would cover all the 4 structures. Structures hatarama cover. So I will check graphically whether you can show something, numerically whether you can do something, profit maximization, so on. Then I will take some features. Maybe in the questions I will not directly mention this firm belongs to perfect competition. Either I would say this firm price equals to marginal cost. You have to get the idea P equals NC happens only in perfect competition. In a perfect competition, likewise, I will give hints, not directly ask, right? Maybe I will give a scenario like a case study. I will tell you like in this industry, this happened, these functions behave like this and so this and that. Then you will be asked what is the market structure. In this market structure, what type of long run equilibrium is there and so if you miss the market structure, all the questions answers are no. Understood? Then you have to clearly remember the features. So now I'm giving you the expected questions. Okay. You know what's wrong with you guys? To be prepared. Huh? Do you have any questions from any market structure or anything else? Questions are clearly remember what are the differences in long run, short run. Especially in the monopoly, there are additional two diagrams talking about no unique supply. If you're asked to grow that, how do you grow it? Okay. So you have to be familiar with market structure. The market structure is lessons like a cost and reduction. Cost curves reduction curves I think comparatively those two lessons are easy. In market structure. And the evening we will start some pricing practices and we'll do some questions also. Then we'll wind up. Okay. I have another lecture prepared. Let's see. Depending on the time, okay. So maybe if you compare the course outline, some of the lessons I have kind of altered. So especially the last two sessions that is mentioned in the course outline, I'm not going to do. Fiscal and monetary policy and also some global crisis or something, that those two topics I'm not going to do. Instead of that, we have expanded the discussion on market structures. And let's see if the time allows, we will do one more session, a very small one. Then we'll wind up session part. Okay. So in terms of your group assignment, okay. You haven't informed me the firms that you have selected. Are there any group leaders from each of the group? There are 4 groups. And one student stand up from each of the group. What's your market structure? A group. Okay. But what is the industry was for beauty? Good. Next week, you have 6 members. Why? Yeah, he also has to contribute. Monopolistic competition. Oligopoly. Monopoly. Monopolistic competition. Okay. That's all. Group okay? So in monopolistic competition, what is the firm you have selected? Salon. He has selected the salon. Not quick salon. How about you guys? What's that?
Cable management.
Cable. You have all 3 courses and everything. Right. Now we will start a new session, maybe 2. We will cover that, and I will give you the structure of the paper as well. Not a fixed structure, but something I would expect from all of you, and like maybe the number of questions and all. And I will give you some tips how to practice for the exam. Then we'll finish the content. Okay. So next week only the group presentation. In terms of presentation, I will give you 15 minutes for the presentation. Huh? So you have to be like during the 15 minutes, you have to cover everything. If you exceed the time, I would ask you to stop. Huh? I will sharply time your duration. So make sure you have practice and you have limit your presentation to 15 minutes. And the maximum number of slides also, I encourage you to have only 10 or 11 maximum. Excluding the introduction or excluding that what you call the topic slide and the thank you slide. They can go content wise 10 or 11 maximum. Otherwise, you cannot manage within the 15 time frame. 15 minutes selling back slides the high bill. So and also I will expect you to be creative. I do not expect you to be a very formal presentation. You can do a drama, dance, or anything you prefer. Anyway, the content should be delivered. Okay. So that's what I would expect. And the report also should be submitted. Huh? And the soft copy of the report also should be submitted. I will upload the link in the LMS for the submission of the report. Then I will ask you to submit the hard copy also. Hard copy during the presentation, and also for the presentation, make sure every member has equally distributed the time, because individual evaluation is also there. Group mark individual mark thank you. One member is tasked to do the content and at the end say thank you. No. So the content should be equally distributed among all the members. Okay. Right. So, and your the group formation sheet should be attached to the report. Group number, I think your name and everything. Your index number, name, and the signature should be there in the group formation sheet, and that has to be attached to the group report. And the person who's joining online also has to do some part, maybe a recorded version or something for the presentation. Otherwise, he's going to miss the individual. Okay. Right. Okay, let's take a break and let's make after 30 minutes. Okay.
Shall I do it?